Is Arcane an anime? Well, to be fair, a lot of my videos, namely my chapter reviews, are based on manga, which is not even animated. So I argue this is more on topic than many of my other videos. Oh god, I've been doing this all wrong. Hey friends, Anime Analyzed here with another episode of Something of Significance, and this time I wanted to talk about Arcane. In the case that you haven't watched it, I will try to keep this video as spoiler-free as possible, and if you are a fan of some fairly dark anime like Attack on Titan or Hunter x Hunter, I recommend you watch this video. So before I get into it, I wanted to come clean and say I used to play League of Legends. Admittedly, I got nowhere with it and grew to really hate the game, so when I heard of Arcane, I was averse to watching it. But I have to thank Liam from Dude in a Room for his review of Arcane because it caused me to watch it, and I have to say, it's been a worthwhile experience. Also, definitely check out his channel, he makes some great content as well. Arcane follows quite a few characters, but mainly the progression of two sisters Vi and Powder, as well as a budding scientist Jace. The story takes place in a city called Piltover, the City of Progress. It consists of one wealthy district and another undercity district called Zaun, which is filled with crime and pollution. The two cities have this weird symbiotic relationship where no one of them can exist without the other, but they also both hate each other. The dystopian setting that Arcane takes place in is hauntingly reminiscent of many inequalities in the real world, and it's a stark reminder that something can only feel nice if it's compared to something that's not so nice. But within this black and white landscape, there exists a wide cast of quirky, interesting, and morally gray characters. This was a welcome change from my usual shonen shenaniganry where the good guys and the bad guys are very easy to distinguish. The story to me is an exploration of why good and bad is extremely subjective. There are definitely characters that want to do good, but at the end of the day, every action they take is good only for their side, but you can't blame them because they've never known otherwise. Those from Zaun only see those of Piltover as rich snobs that are leeching off of their poverty, whereas those of Piltover see those of Zaun as criminals. And this uncertainty causes for a very strange yet powerful casting, where no one is the main character. I mean, you might see Jace and Vi and Powder as main characters, but the story does a great job of disengaging itself from any one particular character. In short, it is no one's story, and yet everyone's story. Overall, the setting made for a wonderfully contrasting background to the subtle tragedy that is the story. And what a story it was. The way the destinies of the characters are intertwined is masterful. But as you may have probably seen, nowadays, writing a twisted storyline is almost a necessity to even be considered a good TV show. So what is it that sets this story apart from others? I gave this question a lot of thought, and honestly, I would compare watching this TV show to watching a natural disaster. It's not particularly heartwarming, not at all in fact, and at every turn you feel an imminent sense of despair, but you just can't look away. And to add to that, the characters are all so relatable, which makes you wonder, what if this happened to you? This layer of personal connection just makes you all the more invested in the storyline, but what makes this story stand out even more is that you know no character is safe. As mentioned earlier, the storyline is disengaged from the characters, and by doing so we can be sure that no one character has plot armor. And because of this, I spent every moment worrying for every character. That's not to say that this story only causes anxiety. I get enough of that from the regular world nowadays. And that's because characters in Arcane do indeed have character growth. But just like the rest of the story, this growth comes with a cost. Over the course of the story, characters grow physically and mentally stronger, which is always a nice feeling since we're inherently rooting for them, but this growth sometimes happens hand in hand with the character's fall to darkness. And I can't stress how delicate this balance is. Even a show like Breaking Bad, which is known to be one of the greatest TV shows of our generation, sometimes fails at doing this. Walter White's fall to darkness happened so quickly and monotonically that some people deemed his character unredeemable from a very early point in the story. This doesn't necessarily make the story worse, but in a scenario like Arcane, which has no single main character, it would have been easy for me to lose interest if I didn't truly care for any of them. But Mr. Analyzed, you may exclaim, what about the animation? Well, to be completely honest, the animation did throw me off guard at first, but god, did I grow to love it. It was natural and had this organic watercolor-like aesthetic, which is very unique to see in the space. But what's even more impressive is that the natural aesthetic is not lost even during fight scenes and slow motion scenes where a lot of animation studios will bail. And the soundtrack, whoa! It does a great job of highlighting the complex dichotomy that is steampunk Zon and whatever Piltover is. The transition between these aesthetics never felt nauseating or unnatural because the soundtrack helped me ground myself. The orchestral legatos fit perfectly for all opulent upper city scenes, and the percussion-heavy, rock-like music fit perfectly for all Zon scenes. But going a level deeper, the music reveals so much more. The usual high-strung and positive feeling I get from listening to Baroque music was nowhere to be seen. Instead, that feeling was replaced by deceitfulness and fakeness. On the other side, the usual feeling of aggression that comes with punk rock felt almost inviting and homely. Doing so, of course, further highlights the dichotomy that is Zon and Piltover. All in all, Arcane is a beautiful exploration of societal inequality and its ramifications. I believe it's very apt for a world that continues to become ever so much more connected and yet ever so much more polarized. If there's one thing I took away from this show, it's that sometimes all it takes is some healthy dialogue to see eye to eye with your supposed nemesis. And you can see eye to eye with this here red button. But unless you press it, you won't actually gain any of its arcane benefits. So tap into all the magic this channel has to offer and leave a like and comment down below with your thoughts on this series. I'll catch y'all later.